this is our annual audit meeting, of course, to go over 2019. The things are crazy right now, as everybody knows. I'm sure in everybody's private lives, everybody is going mad in their homes or at work. So it's not unique, though, to everybody else. The ABO is also having some interesting times with this. So I just want to give you guys a heads up on some of the things before we get into Paris. Some of the issues that have, as a result of this COVID crisis, have sort of crept up. One of them is that the state organization, the Economic Development Council, has been in contact with the ABO to see about delaying the transmission of the Paris report, because in addition to the IDA being, working remotely, the ABO is also working remotely, and so are many of the companies that we work with, and certainly all school districts and government entities have much bigger things to worry about than, last year's pilot payments. So there was an effort to postpone the March 31st deadline for Paris reporting, specifically after the federal and state tax deadlines were pushed back to July. But the ABO did not revise their position. They don't have the authority to revise their position, they said, and have issued a statement that, since there has not been a suspension or extension of deadlines by the executive or legislature, IDAs are encouraged to make reasonable efforts to submit required reports as timely as practicable. The ABO will consider, the reduction in staff offices, municipal and school closures, ability to access information from businesses that are working remotely, and the capability of the board to adequately review and approve data prior to data being submitted in Paris, yada, yada, yada. So the short of it is we're still obligated to file by March 31st. We have our own set of issues with that, which we'll touch on a little bit, in that our, as we discussed as a board, and Jim, I know you weren't present at the board meeting that we discussed this at length at, but we have an ongoing issue with both the ABO and the Office of the State Comptroller because of some old bonds, and they wanted a ton of documentation going back as far as 20 years, or bonds that were old as 20 years. And we've been doing that. Joel just yesterday resent the final documents to the ABO to have them close our 2018 audit, revise and close our 2018 audit, so we can close our 2019 audit in a timely manner. So we're working on a lot of different little moving parts, but with all of that being said, we are prepared with today's meeting to, if you guys accept the audit, we will take that as an approval of the audit. We'll submit it by March 31st, provided we're allowed to from the system. We'll submit it March 31st, and then be in compliance. And then retroactively, the full board will accept the report in April. So we'll have met all of our criteria, just a little bit kind of more around the way. So that all being said, now that I've bored everyone to tears with my opening preamble, I will turn it over to Joel and JGS to go over the 2019 audit.
All right. So I'm hoping everyone received the documents. There are actually 7 separate documents, four for the IDA, excuse me, and 3 for the OCFC. So you should have received that. I'm not sure if you had an opportunity to look at that. What I'll do, what we typically do is have JGS walk us through the financial statements and the various letters that go along with the financial statements that are separate. So either Rob or RJ, if you guys want to, I don't know if you want to do the OCFC first or the IDA. I'll leave it up to you.
Joel, to be efficient, I think what we're going to do is just go over the IDA financial statement, because it includes the column for Orange County funding in there as well. That way, we can just go through everything all at once.
Terrific.
Okay. So really, I'm going to start it off really with page 1 of the IDA financial statement, and that's our independent auditor's report. We issued what's known as an unmodified or clean opinion, so there's no findings and there's no qualifications with the audit. Starting on page 4 of the financial statement, it discusses the management discussion and analysis, and it's a brief synopsis of the year 2019 versus 2018. You can certainly read through this. What I'll do is I'll go to the financial statements itself to give you a little bit more detail than what's in the MD&A analysis. Joel, I don't know if there's anything that in particular on the MD&A that you wanted to point out specifically?
No, I think once you go through the statements themselves, that covers a little more in depth than the MD&A.
Exactly.
So I'll defer to you.
Okay. So turning to page 6 of the IDA financial statement, this is our statement of net assets. And as you can see, there are 4 columns, with the first column being the Orange County IDA and also the Orange County Business Accelerator. The second column is the Orange County Funding Corporation, and then we have both entities combined in the 2019 total, and then the last column is the 2018 total. We still have a very strong cash position. When you look at both the cash and our certificates of deposit, we have approximately $11,475,000. I'm kind of jumping ahead here now, but on the last page of this report, which is page 22, we did an examination of the investments, and we're in compliance with the law there as well, and the last page has that report on it as well. Accounts receivable, we have both a current portion and a long-term portion if you look down at other assets. And in the current year, 2019, the majority of that is from the Warwick Valley LDC, which is about $1 million.
I want to let you
Sure.
know Mary Ellen is dialing in 1 minute. Do you want to hold?
Oh, sure, we can hold.
Yeah, rather than repeat. Lori, it's up to you.
Yeah, that's fine. Thank you.
That was the case you would.
Oh, hold
that
on.
could be
Look
her.
at that. Is that
that
Mary
you?
Ellen?
Yeah, that's me.
Hey, hi there. Okay.
I'm trying to find my copy of the financials here. So I can know
I'll
what I'm
re-forward it to you right now, just to save you the issue, the looking. Rob, do you want to kind of give, as I'm sending you Mary Ellen, I just resent you all the documents. Do you want to just give Mary Ellen a heads up on which document you'll be working with so she can open it up when she gets it?
Talking. Sure. We're looking at the Orange County IDA audited financial statement at this time. I said I'll cover this because it also includes Orange County Funding Corporation. This way we killed 2 birds with 1 stone.
Okay. Okay. All right, I'm with you.
Okay. So I'll start with the auditor's report. So we issued an unmodified, or what's known as a clean opinion. No findings there. Looking at page 6, the statement of net assets. Okay, and just starting off with cash and cash equivalents and also our certificates of deposit, we still have a strong cash position of approximately $11,475,000.
Okay.
And then additionally, on the very last page of this report, page 22, we performed an examination of the investments, and everything was in accordance with the New York State law. Looking at accounts receivable, there's both a current portion to accounts receivable, and then down below in other assets, there's a long-term portion of accounts receivable, and that's a little over $3 million, of which most of which is from Warwick Valley LDC, Merlin, and also SUNY Orange. Prepaid expenses is pretty much made up of insurance and rent. Capital assets, we added approximately $190,000 of capital assets during the year, and you can see that in note 6 of the financial statement. Going down below to the liabilities and net assets, accounts payable and accrued expenses, majority of that is for projects. There's about $573,000 that's due to IBM. $445,000 is for the Warwick Valley LDC, and then there's approximately $38,000 that's part of the labor escrow. Then looking at our net assets, and again, this is reiterated in note 10 on page 13. Unrestricted net assets designated, we have $1,940,500, and we have the specific designations in that footnote. And then there's $9,548,000 that's undesignated for the IDA. And then when you look at Orange County Funding Corporation, there's $285,000 that's designated. I know $85 is the loan for the loans, and the $200,000 is for projects. And then we have our total for 2019. Any questions on this statement?
No.
Okay. I'll move forward to page 7, the statement of activities. Under our revenues, fee income net, you'll see that's actually a negative approximately $66,000, and that has to do with the amount from IBM, whereas what we received was less than what we owed them. Therefore, it translated into a negative amount here on the revenue. Let's see. Closing fees. What was that? I think that was from Hampton Park and 360 Middletown. Rental income comes from the Orange County Business Accelerator. Grant income is the amounts that we receive from Accelerator Without Borders. We did pretty well with our investment income as the interest rates were higher during the year. And then we have our admin fees and then the other income, which comes from Harris Beach. Under expenses, projects and special initiatives, a lot of this involves the different accelerator locations that we have now, the pods, improvements that we have done there. Contractual expenses, that's some of the designated funds that we have, such as the Film Commission, Agribusiness, the Youth Bureau, so forth and so on. Our payroll taxes, payroll admin, pretty much in line. We added some staff, therefore a little bit of additional costs, so pretty much in line. Rent expense has increased due to the number of locations that we now have. Management fees, that's the Galileo technology, and that has increased as the locations that we have for the different accelerators has increased. Professional fees, I know we added lobbyists. We now have 2 lobbyists this year. JGS is included in there, as well as Loki Brill, and also Kevin Dowd's expenses. Advertising has come down. In 2018, we had that campaign that we did with Focus Media that we did not do in 2019. And the other one to note, depreciation expense has increased, and that's due to our increase in capital assets. Overall, between IDA, the Business Accelerator, and Funding Corporation, our change in net assets has decreased $2,919,000, meaning that we've spent more than we've taken in, and our net assets at the end of the year for the combined entities is just over $14 million. Any questions on this statement? Okay, I guess not. All right. Page 8 is the statement of cash.
I got a question.
Sure.
What's the is there any? Why'd you hesitate? Should we be asking a question about it?
No, I try to explain everything as best I can going through the statement. I always pause for statements just in case anybody has anything that they want to further look at. I don't think there should be any questions, but.
I think the only people that need to understand that the accelerator overspends is probably those members of the legislature.
True.
So there's the proof in the pudding in our audit.
Agreed.
Okay, I'll go back on mute now.
Okay. Okay.
By the way, Jim, I'm sorry, real quickly. We'll also, we're obligated to share our audit on the website, naturally, of course. And, if any legislators have questions about it, we can certainly provide them a copy of the audit as well.
Okay.
Thank you for that very formal response.
You're welcome. That was my diplomat speaking, yes.
Okay, turning to page 8 is basically your statement of cash flow. And what this statement does is show you how funds were provided and what they were used for. It starts with the change in the net asset. It adds back depreciation, which is a non-cash item, and then it takes into consideration all the change in the assets and liabilities. What was used for investing activities such as purchasing assets, purchasing and selling investments, and then the net change in cash, which was a decrease between the combined entities of just over $2.6 million, leaving the cash and cash equivalents ending balance between the combined entities at $5,756,000. Okay, moving on, pages 9 through 15 are all the footnotes to the financial statement, and it explains in more depth basically what's contained in the financial statements itself. So I've kind of pretty much covered this already. If there's specific questions, I can certainly answer those. If not, we can go forward to page 16, which starts out with the supplemental schedules.
Before we do that, can I ask a question, Mary Ellen?
Sure.
Note 5 in the receivables, you still have that note to Brionics that's been in there for 19 years now.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a reason that we carry this on our books rather than just write it off?
We've got 100% reserve against it, Mary Ellen.
Right.
And
No,
I think we talked about it 2 years ago, and I think we were still deciding whether Kevin was going to pursue any action against that. If you're not going to make any, attempts to try to collect that or do anything with it, we can move to take, a full write-off. Yeah. It's now a full reserve, but it's not formally written off. That's why it's still included in there.
No, I understand that. We haven't talked about this in a long time. So, Lori, maybe when we bring that up with Kevin.
Yeah, I will. I remember that the last time, I think it was last year, we had him send out some letters to try to get in touch with them, and he got sort of a wild goose chase. I mean, a number of years ago, we had that guy come into the building. If you remember, it was a long time ago.
To me, there's no reason for carrying on because we're not going to collect anything. So I just
exactly. So I'll talk to Kevin about it. We'll confirm it. Yeah, and then for next year, we'll write it off.
Mary Ellen, to that point, I also want to bring up Note 8, which is the investment in Roadlock, if there's any type of position you guys want to take with that as well.
Yeah.
I would say the same thing with that one, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would too. Yeah. I would too. I think it's time to clean that stuff up.
Okay.
So we'll have a final conversation with Kevin, and I guess the audit committee can make a recommendation to go ahead and wipe them up.
Yeah, well, I'll make a note to formally discuss it at the April audit committee meeting, and then we'll close it there, and then we'll make sure that we have a note for the 2020 audit that'll be removed.
All right, good. Thank you.
Okay. Turning to page 16, the supplemental schedules, and this notes what we sent out as far as the confirmation and who has responded, and also denotes who has not responded for the bonds outstanding, and also all of the other incentives that we have as well. And that covers page 16 through 21. I don't know if there's any further discussion that we need about this, who has not responded, anything to that matter.
Kathy, this might be a good time for you to chime in and just talk a little bit about, rather than doing it as a separate moment here, do you want to talk a little about the audit confirmation process, the response rate, any issues?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. So the audit process went fairly smoothly this year. we do have all of the audits back, and they are posted in Paris with a lot of communication between the projects and myself, and finding out what they were missing. When the audits actually came in, I communicated with them, so I was able to keep track of what was going on with them and what was missing from their audits, and we got them all in. So I think that's pretty good.
Yeah, that's really good. That's the first time, right, Lori?
Yeah.
Yes, it is. Woo-hoo.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Great job on that, Kathy. Thank you so much. And I don't think there was anything. The other, item of that we're really excited about is that, finally we'll have a complete report to build off of as we move through trying to correct some old issues. It's nice to know that 2020 or 2019 basis will be very thorough for moving forward. So we finally got to where we always wanted to be, which is great.
Yeah, and I'll be working on the sheet.
Are we going to address, because the one thing that sort of jumps out on the page to me is the FTEs created versus current. Excuse me. So is that a comparison to what was contemplated in the initial application? Or what does that mean, I guess?
I went through and created a report from the original applications, what they said that they were going to create and retain, and I'm working on putting them on a spreadsheet now.
Okay. So,
Mary Ellen, I just want to talk to the financials. The information that you see in the schedules is the number of full-time employment positions created in the current year and what they ended the year with.
Oh, so it's the current year only.
Right. So it's
Okay.
for the financials, it's just an annual look at things.
All right. I'm sorry, I misunderstood. Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
All right. Good.
Okay. All right, so moving on from the financial statement itself, there are 3 letters that we issued to the IDA, a governance letter, a management comment letter, and an internal control letter. I'm just going to start with the governance letter. That basically said, what we've done for our audit, significant audited findings, significant areas, and then it kind of refers on to the other letters that we have issued as well. So management comment letter says, have we had any findings in our audit? And we did have a current year finding in that we didn't find out about the receivable from Warwick Valley Local Development Corporation until it really got to a step where I'll say it was a board or management review. Ideally we would like to have this, be found sooner rather than, once we're ready to issue a financial statement. So that's why we kind of placed this in here as a finding. It's something that, we need to look at the organization to see how can we strengthen that so something like this doesn't get by in the future. And then the internal control letter, basically describes the same finding as well. It says, as part of the year-end closing statement, the process kind of was deficient in that it didn't capture the long-term receivable of the $1.5 million, close to $1.5 million.
So, I'm sorry, I'm struggling for words here. What does that really mean? I mean, I understand that what happened was, because I know I raised the issue with the initial, the draft of the financials about the sizable loss that was posted, and it was expensed rather than, accrued. But the comment, what does the comment actually mean, or what does it cause the board to respond?
It's designed to say, we should take a plan of action that something like this, we got to make sure that it's communicated, that it flows through to UHY that is doing the bookkeeping now, so that they're aware of what's going on this project, so that the books accurately reflect this receivable at year end.
Okay. Okay.
Joel, do you want to speak to that a little bit? Just since I know that you and I had spoken about it a little bit. Do you have any comments to add?
Yeah. So what JGS is bringing up is that this was identified, but it was identified later than it should have been. So at year end, when we did the accrual adjustments and year end entries, this should have been posted at that point. So when JGS came in to review our balance sheet and income and expense statement, that was not in there at that point, and thus it was made as a audit adjustment. So it should have been done. It was identified to them, but it should have been included in the financials when they received it, not at the point that they had received it, and then it became an audit entry.
Okay.
Yeah. It's just designed to say that, we should look at our internal control process and see how we can better communicate this so something like this does not happen in the future.
Yeah, because I was wondering about, the best practice as to, let's say we had a similar type of project or how does this one differ from some of the other ones? Because, like, let's use Merlin as an example. So Merlin, we got all the money for them in, we booked it as a receivable, the $2.9 million or whatever it was, because that was the total fee that they were due, that they have to pay, but it's payable over a schedule. So they make a cash payment each year of X number of dollars, and then the receivable is reduced by that amount. So I guess I'm not clear on why this one was done differently than the other.
I think it's, I'm sorry, different scenario. Marion, you're referring to the revenue side that you and I had talked about. That
right.
Why was the revenue? So that was a receivable issue. The
right.
issue we're talking about here, although it's a receivable, what we had done was when it was initially recorded as an expense, and the fact that this wasn't in reality an expense, it reduced the expenses and increased our receivable. So although they're both receivables in the sense that we're anticipating money to come from Merlin Entertainment,
right.
and also we're anticipating money to come from New York State, one is based upon a revenue basis as a closing fee versus another is based upon expenses, disbursements that were laid out where we anticipate
right.
getting the money back from the state.
Okay. All right.
So the source of the receivables are different.
Yeah, and then it's almost sort of analogous to deferred revenue, right? Because you're going to capture the expense once you finish the project and you get the reimbursement, right?
It's not really per se any revenue. It's more or less just.
I understand that, but I'm saying it's a deferred item. It's like a deferred item.
Yes, because we've outlaid the funds in 19
right.
for which we anticipate being reimbursed at a later date, some point in like mid-2021.
Right. Okay. So if we were to do something similar to that, then this would be the standard way that we should book these kinds of transactions.
Right. If you have a set agreement very similar to this, as the money is being spent, we would advise not to record an expense, but rather the debit side would be a long-term receivable.
Right. Gotcha. Okay.
Yep. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, and Marianne, so the real crux of the issue is that the internal accountants were informed that we have this agreement, but the point of getting the transaction recorded at year end was not followed through. So the main issue we're saying is that everyone, at least at the IDA level, Joel specifically, provided the information for which UHY should have done something with, and they did not. And the follow-up was in draft form when we released those drafts. There was no other communication after that. So
right. Well, I know because I almost had a heart attack when we showed a $4 million.
Yeah.
So it's material. Okay,
yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm good.
The other point I just want to bring up, and Marianne and I had discussed this, is when I issue the monthly reports to the board, that's on a cash basis. when the audit is done, that's when I mention it towards at the beginning of each year when we show the December of previous year's monthly report. I always put a caveat out that there are going to be adjustments for accruals, revenue and expense accruals that are not reflected on the cash basis monthly reports. So that's the thing I just want everyone to be aware of, that throughout the year we report on a cash basis, and at year end the financials, of course, are on an accrual basis.
Right. Okie dokie.
All right. One other thing that I did want to bring up was I know 5 years ago we did auditor rotation when Gary Castiello was the auditor, and then I became the audit partner on the account. And this is my 5th audit. RJ is now a partner at the firm, so I just wanted to bring that up if you still need to do, the process of auditor rotation, if you want to discuss that.
Yes, we do.
Okay.
Yeah.
And congratulations, RJ.
Yeah, thank you very much.
You're welcome. But yeah, it would be time to make sure that we have that transition in place.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's everything that we have. I don't know if there's any other questions that you might have for us.
Jim, Mike, do you guys have any questions?
No, I'm good. Thank you. Thank you very much, you guys.
No, I'm okay. I read through all the docs. They look pretty good.
Okay.
I gotta place a little faith in our accounting firm, just a little.
Just a little, of course.
Just kidding. Place a lot of faith in you guys.
Thank you.
Okay, so then I just need a motion and a second to accept the audit as presented so that we can go ahead and submit it to the state.
So moved.
Motion. Second.
Excellent. All in favor, I presume, yes?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, and that being said, just 2 other quick things. JGS, I guess you're free to go if you feel like it. We are the only thing. I have 2 quick things to talk about. Actually, stay on for just a second because we'll talk in April about the IBM audit. JGS had presented that to audit committee a few months ago, and there was this, I think, $570,000 item essentially that we owe IBM back. And the audit committee asked us to talk to IBM before we went to the full board to accept the IBM and close the IBM audit. So I spoke to Wayne Spinay, who spoke to the tax department at IBM, and there were a number of options that we had hoped to discuss, like they could potentially just waive the overpayment, or somebody driving with their windows down. I don't know. Anyway, so waive the whole thing, which kind of, that was a shot in the dark, but or spread out the repayment over a number of years. IBM is open to having this $570,000 basically as a credit against their future payments to us. So for instance, this year, if they owe us money in excess of $570,000, then they'll pay us the difference between what they owe us and this credit due to them. If they owe us less than $570,000, then they'll pay us nothing, and then the balance of that credit would carry over to the next year. Is that something that you guys are comfortable with, at least preliminarily?
Perfect. Perfect.
Okay.
Perfect. I'm completely comfortable with that.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's the painless way to do it.
Yeah, I think so too. So I will. We'll formally discuss it at the April meeting. So RJ and Rob, you might want to be prepared to rediscuss the IBM audit so we can close it and formally adopt it in April.
Absolutely.
And then we'll create something, just a letter, and I'll work with Kevin on this, just a letter to notify IBM that the audit is closed and that we're going to have this, X number of dollars credit against future payments. And then the other thing, Joel, if you just want to give a quick, very brief 2-second update on the bond issue that we think we finally just put behind us. You want to just confirm everything is done so everybody knows?
So earlier this week, we received all the information that the ABO requested. I forwarded it to them twice this week, and I haven't received a response from them. they've been waiting for this, so they will open up the 2018 Paris report so I can make a correction in it. And so I'm still waiting for them to open it up or respond to me that they acknowledge they received what I sent them, and then hopefully they'll open up 2018 so I can make the correction. So that's it. Now, right now, the ball's in their court. They have it. They need ultimately want them to open up 18, and then I can complete that.
Okay.
And just to be, go ahead. Sorry.
Do you need that change to be done before you can do you can submit the 2019 report?
Well, that's going to cause technically yes, but that's going to be an interesting question. I'm going to go forward with the 2019 filing. I don't know. I'm not sure why it wouldn't go through. It'll have the incorrect opening balance because it's going to have the opening balance that's incorrect from 2018 because they haven't permitted me to correct that. So
right.
I'm going to move forward and file everything with the assumption that the system, Paris, will accept it. I won't know until I actually do that. But at this point, I'm going to move forward with filing 19.
But why would we want to file? Why would we want to file it with incorrect information right from the start?
It's which bad medicine you want to take. I don't want to be in a position of not filing 19 on a timely basis versus if I file it with incorrect information or I don't file it. I'm not sure which is the worst of the two. So my attempt is going to be to file it. If it accepts it, fine. Let them come back and say the number isn't correct. I'll say that you're right because you didn't permit me to fix 18. But at least I filed it. I'd rather be in error of filing it on time with a correction to be pending.
Okay.
Well, here's a question. Can we put an addendum or let's be up front with it?
Ironically, and Lori's familiar with this, Jim, is that there is no space or there's no ability in Paris to put notes of any sort. It's all just yes, no, you check off a box and you submit it. There's no ability whatsoever to explain anything.
Well, that's fine, but let's email the appropriate parties in a formal letter then.
Well, let me ask, what is the deadline for filing the Paris report?
31st.
Okay, so if we get if you get the okay from the ABO to change it before the 31st, then it'll have the correct information, correct?
Yes.
Right.
Okay, so that's where we're at.
So I asked Alex.
Well, let me finish. I'm sorry. So so that's the best case scenario is that ABO fixes it and then we get the right number and we move forward. I mean, what's the risk of not filing on time? You know, what can they do to us? I mean, what is the punitive action that they can take or not take?
So right now, I will say that we're in a little bit of a gray area. I mean, they've made a statement saying that, especially because of the pandemic, that IDAs that don't file on time, they're not going to stick the screws to them because there are a number of extenuating circumstances. Joel and I, though, are in a particular place of discomfort with that because we know what happens when they say, don't worry, this isn't going to be an issue, and then you're locked into an unofficial audit for a year and a half because it becomes an issue later. So I think we're super sensitive to it. There's not really anything besides going on a list, which honestly we're already on, that we are not compliant. So there's not a lot of risk in it, but I will say the only reason, not the only reason, but one of the biggest reasons that we haven't heard anything back, because typically they respond right away because they wanted to close this out almost as much, if not more than we do, is because they're working remotely. And we are all, as staff, certainly familiar with the fact that the ABO never tells you who you're talking to. They don't have unique email addresses. They're like very clandestine about who they are when you speak to them. So it's not a surprise to any of us that they're not calling us from their cell phones when we leave a message at the office. So I've engaged Alex Becky to talk to Jeff Perlman because he does have direct access to Jeff to say if we need nothing else, at least just an email back saying we got it, you're fine. and then we'll engage with Jeff to see if there's a way that we can move forward or if we just wait. And again, Joel's absolutely right. You know, you kind of pick your poison in terms of filing correctly or waiting late. So I think at the end of the day, we would just wait because it would be more accurate than trying to go back and fix something. But
well, that's what my thought is, because it's such, it's such a heavy lift to fix something.
Yeah, and we basically have to lie in 2019's audit.
You're basically falsifying the statement if you're entering a balance that you know is not correct. I think that's worse than filing late, from my vantage point.
I would agree.
What do you think, Jim? Jim?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't know. I don't know. You're asking me to respond on how I think the ABO is going to react. I mean, I don't.
Well, no,
personally, I mean, if you're going to get hit, what's the difference? So maybe the explanation is better to wait and then say, look, we didn't want to put forward a document that's basically not accurate.
Right. Well, that's the question I'm saying. You know, is it better to stand and say, you know, we want to be correct, rather than get sucked into the bureaucracy and have to do it all over again? I mean, it defeats the purpose, correct? I mean,
I would still. I don't care if we've got 10 different emails. Blow up every email we have for these people, and let them know that, you know, the reason why we're holding off on filing is because we're waiting for a response back to them so we can open up 18 so we can fix it.
Yeah, I
can do that.
I think it would be good to memorialize it, certainly, and, you know, hopefully.
Absolutely.
Because if they have the information and they know what they need to do, it's just a matter of turning a switch or whatever. It could be done very easily. But I would be in favor of not filing until we get the correction.
Yeah. Okay.
I think, you know, I hear what you're saying about the ABO, and let's face it, they're terrorists. But, you know, are they going to terrorize themselves by not responding to the request?
Right.
You know, I mean, I think the duties are in our favor here.
I think so too. I think it makes the most sense to go ahead and write, just as you said, memorialize it and make sure that we're, you know, upfront and transparent in the fact that we haven't filed because of an issue that they opened up anyway.
Right.
So we'll do that.
What I would further, you know, when in whatever memorialization you do, I mean, make it clear that we're prepared to file the correct information. We're not prepared to file the incorrect information. Yeah, because, you know, I mean, you want to make sure people know, look, we have the numbers, we're ready, and they're good. We're just not going to put up anything that's wrong.
100%. I think one of the, hopefully, what Joel and I have discussed is we're going to wait until, I think, Tuesday the 31st? We're going to wait until it gets a little bit closer to do anything like that, because hopefully between now and then we'll get an email back saying, yep, 2018 is resolved, and then all of this is for naught because we'll be able to officially close it.
Well, that would definitely be the best case.
Yeah. So we'll definitely do that. In the event that they don't open it back up, we'll certainly memorialize it. We'll send an email. We'll copy the audit committee on it. We'll make sure that everyone's aware that we're prepared to fully file for 2019. But until 2018's issue is resolved, we're holding off in order to present accurate information.
All right.
So let me just explain two things. When we file for Paris, there are actually 4 individual reports. The only one report will be held up if the ABO does not respond to us on a timely basis. The other 3 are independent from this information, this dead information. So I just want everyone to be aware, for the OCFC, there's no issue. For the IDA, we can file 3 out of 4, but you probably the one report that has the most information is the one that would be held up. So that's first of all. The second thing is, within a time frame, the Comptroller's Office is going to get involved in the lack of the fact that the report for 2018, one of the reports, there were 4, 3 were accepted, 1 wasn't. That one that wasn't accepted, the Comptroller's Office independently does their own monitoring, and they have a certain deadline by which they want it to be completed. If it's not completed and submitted for 2018 by next Tuesday the 31st, I anticipate the Comptroller's Office will come out with their own type of letter saying you haven't submitted 2018. That's independent from the ABO. Unfortunately, the Comptroller's Office has taken a position where they can't assist us because the ABO is the one who's been raising the questions. So they're just in a position of saying, you haven't submitted it. We understand why they are included on all the emails to the ABO, so they're aware of what's going on. But just in terms of regulatory issue, they will, if we don't have an opportunity to file 18 by the 31st, I anticipate them sending out an official notice to us that we haven't filed it. So just be aware of that.
Okay.
So maybe, so here's a question. Should we file everything but what we should we file OCFC and should we file the other three and then just hold off on the one?
Yes, absolutely. There's no reason to hold up the others because they have nothing to do with this one piece of information. So yeah, everything that we're capable of filing without that has no holdup will be filed. The only thing is that one, what they call the annual report of the IDA, that report can't be filed.
All right.
Vinny, Eddie, Diana.
Hey, Eddie. We're actually just
Hi,
wrapping
gang.
up, so you can, now we have 4 members. You can actually just, we're going to end this right now unless anybody else has any questions.
No, motion to close.
Okay. Excellent. So thanks for joining, Eddie, but we're over.
Yeah, I know. I thought it was 11.
Yeah.
I was walking, so that's
You
my
know
fault.
what's happening now? Now we have 4 members on. Lori's hair's on fire. So we.
I know I am. I'm like, oh, God, everything's up.
Yeah.
All right. I'm not here. Goodbye.
All right, bye.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Vinny, stay on a minute, Vinny. Vinny, you there?